Hey everybody, welcome to Happy Hour here live on Brews Sports. We hope your Monday is going well. I know Mondays are not always the most enjoyable or the most exciting day of the week. However, when you get to work on Brews Sports and you get to talk about sports on a daily basis, I feel like you can't go wrong, honestly. But it is Happy Hour. It is the last show of the day here on Monday. It is an exciting time to welcome you all inside the studio alongside myself, Baxter Colburn. We do have Teaka Griesbach as well, too. Teaka, good Monday to you. How are you today?
Happy Monday.
How was your
Pretty
weekend?
Good for Monday. It was good. Got a lot of worked on some papers, so I got some homework done.
I always forget that you're in college still.
Yeah.
I'm just like, Teaka, do something with your life. But, I mean, in a good way, of course. Like, you're furthering your education. I can't be mad about that, of course.
Yeah.
But did you do anything fun? See the family, boyfriend, any of that fun business?
Got to hang out with them. Got to relax a little bit aside from the homework. So
Oh, there you go.
got to see my little niece. She's doing good.
How old is she?
A year.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. That's fun. It's good to just get away and relax for a little while. I feel like sometimes people don't take as much time as they need to, and people forget about relaxing, I guess, especially in college as well, too. Sometimes.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I made my brother and sister-in-law go on a date early in the evening.
Perfect.
So they left. They went to a movie at like 3:30 so that I could have time with her. Otherwise, if they go on a date, then it's too late and I don't get to spend time with my niece who just goes to bed right away. So they purposely went out earlier, which I was grateful for.
Perfect.
Yeah, so good weekend.
Good.
How about yours?
Not too bad, actually. I took I took all of Saturday off and most of Sunday as well, too. Didn't even want to think about work. In-laws came to visit as well, too, which was great. Haven't seen them in about a month and a half or so, so it was good to have them out and see the new house as well, and just not do anything work-related, which was great. Yeah, I know after last week was a really busy time with Brews Sports, but obviously an exciting time as well, too, so it made up for it, obviously. So we've got a big show for you today. We're excited. Some fun things to talk about overall. We also are going to have Jessica Kleinschidt joining us here in the second segment to talk about spring training, David Price's weird elbow thing that he's got going on, the World Baseball Classic, and some other exciting stuff as well, too. But before we do all of that, of course, we want to jump into our What's on Tap segment to begin the show. Two different things that we want to talk about to begin with. We joked about this and talked about this a lot on the show last week. It was the 40-yard dash. Adidas basically saying that, hey, if you break Chris Johnson's 40-yard dash record at the NFL Combine, if you are a participant, we'll give you an island. The only stipulation was that you had to wear Adidas cleats.
And John Ross chose not to.
And
he broke the record.
He broke the record. He ran a 4.2240. He beat it by, I don't even know what that would work out to, 0.2 of a second, or because it was a 4.2440 is what the record was, and then now he has a 4.22. I forget how that works exactly. The millisecond tenths of a second gets confusing. I'm not in college anymore. I don't get paid to do math, so I don't know exactly.
Well, math is not my specialty, so
it's all good. That's why you're doing stuff like this, obviously.
Yeah.
But John Ross was funny though, because when he broke the record, of course, that was the first thing people were saying. Like, "Oh my gosh, did you win the island?" He was like, "No." He's like, "I didn't want to win the island," and his reasoning was really strange. Did you hear what his reasoning was about?
I can't swim.
Simple enough. I can't swim.
I don't want an island because I can't swim.
It was an island valued at $1 million.
I feel like there's many other things you could do on an island as well. I mean,
I
you
agree.
don't have to swim. You don't have to be able to swim.
Exactly. It's not like they're going to say, hey, Adidas, hey, John, congratulations. Now go swim to your island. Take a boat, do whatever, take a bridge, whatever, get to your island, of course. Right. But I feel like giving up the island just because you can't swim is... I know people that can't swim that will still go to the pool and will go to the beach.
Or go to the beach, bring your floaty. Or
you don't have to. You're not like going deep sea diving, basically.
Right. Bring something to float on.
Exactly.
Enjoy it.
Exactly. That
Maybe
makes total
scared.
sense to me. I just found it kind of funny, honestly, that he was like, I just chose not to wear the Adidas cleats because I mean, it's almost like he knew he was going to break the record as well, too. Like, I don't want to do this because, I can't swim. But I feel like that's kind of an awkward cop-out sort of a thing. Like, I just don't need it. Everybody wants an island.
Right.
What would you, I mean...
How can you pass that up?
Then you also ask the question as well, too. It's like, well, would you have just taken the $1 million instead? Well, sure. I mean, but he's also already going to be a really high draft pick anyway in the NFL draft, so running obviously as fast as he did certainly makes up for it. But it seems really foolish.
Yeah.
Why would you not take an island?
It's pretty silly to me, but I mean, good for him for making a decision, sticking with it.
Go, John.
He seemed to know that he was going to win. So
I mean, sometimes that's not the worst thing, honestly. But I mean, I find that it seems silly to me.
Yeah.
One of the things that is kind of funny or silly as well, too. We talked about this off the air, is that somebody seems to know John Ross really, really well. They coached him, actually, before he was even in high school or in college as well, too. You would like to think, maybe he was a famous NFL coach now, or if, Jim Harbaugh, he's coached everybody, or, maybe Michael Jordan or whoever. You never know, like some famous person. But when you break down the long list of possible football coaching candidates, usually Snoop Dogg is not on said list. But apparently Snoop Dogg coached John Ross at a younger age. He sat down with ESPN to talk with them about how he knows John Ross. And we wanted to share a bit of the clip with you really fast. So take a look at Snoop Dogg, among other people, that knows a thing or two about John Ross.
At John Ross, when he was 9 years old, cutting through a parking lot at a Little League football game. And he didn't have a team that he played for. He just was a fast little kid, and I wanted to coach him because I seen something special in him. It was just about the dedication and the effort and the work ethic. If he was going to put in that work to become great, because you could see the greatness in him.
It was more than just football with him. Kind of similar to Coach Pete. We could talk to him about anything. He's more of a coach than people would think. Helped us with a lot of things and motivated us to do bigger and better things. He kind of taught us, like, no matter where you come from and how big you get, it's always good to give back and do what's right. And, he's never turned his back on us.
He still calls me Coach Snoop to this day, and I feel like he has the most potential out of all of the kids that came out of my league. So I just want to make sure that he understands that, he can just keep having fun and be a kid and let everything come to him. John Ross from Long Beach, California.
It's just kind of funny when you see that. I mean, obviously Snoop Dogg, has done a very successful job with everything that he's been doing with the different kids in the Long Beach, California area. But just kind of funny, though. Not exactly somebody you would peg as, like
I was so
a groomer
surprised.
of great football players, basically.
Yeah, I had no idea. And what is he saying? Like, drop it like it's hot?
Yeah,
Does
something.
he sing that song? Like, that's what I think of when
exactly.
I hear his
Yeah,
name.
it's like, Snoop Dogg, of course, drop it like it's hot. But even watching those brief highlights of John as well, too, like he is, of course, just an incredibly talented player. Just incredibly, you saw even just the brief clips, like his speed is insane. So to take that even to the next level, I think is going to be even more impressive, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
One of the other things we want to talk about briefly here on our What's on Tap before we get to Jessica Kleinschidt has to do with a hockey fan up in the Calgary area. Correct me if I'm wrong on this one, Calgary. But she's legally blind, but she embraced the chance to watch her beloved Calgary Flames. We'll save the time and not show the video, unfortunately. But this 11-year-old girl has had visual impairment since she was obviously a very young age, but they came up with this really neat technology to allow her to basically see the game.
Yeah, I guess when she was born, she was diagnosed with a rare form of eye cancer. So she underwent chemotherapy and radiation treatment, but I guess her right eye was lost to the disease. And then her vision in her left eye was severely impaired. So I think it's called eSight, created a device, kind of like goggles.
Yeah, it looks like this weird, almost Star Trek-y goggle thing that goes across your face, basically. And basically, what does it do? It captures high rates of, I forget exactly how it transmits the video to her eyes.
Camera?
It's a high-speed camera that then transmits what you're seeing into it so that it works with how her eyes work as well, too, basically.
So she said that it helps her see better and she can read with them, so that's very impressive to me.
I agree.
And she can watch things from far away, so she was able to watch her favorite team.
Yeah, kind of a cool thing, honestly. That's really awesome that eSight was able to do something like this. Hockey, we hear about this all the time in hockey, that they do these different promotions to try to help different people in need as well, too, and more power to Calgary as well for helping this young fan get the opportunity to get to see her favorite team as well, too. So, all right, transitioning out of the What's on Tap segment, let's get to our correspondent today. Joining us now on Happy Hour is Jessica Kleinschidt, and she joins us live on Brew Sports now today. Jessica, welcome to Brew Sports. How are we doing today?
Busy, but I'm great. How are you guys doing?
Doing well. We're excited to have you on the program today. I know you are a bit of a world traveler, Jessica, it feels like, when it comes to making your rounds in the baseball circuit. But spring training, of course, I'm sure you're just thrilled. Mm-hmm. It's almost like a second Christmas for you, basically. You're excited that it's finally here, and
I am.
What's boiling down here with spring training? I mean, what are the storylines? Are the Cubs going to repeat? I mean, people can go all over the place, of course, with spring training. But what have been your general findings so far with how spring training has been starting so far?
So far, it's basically trying to see like how a lot of the trades are evening out. And when it comes to spring training, it really does depend on what you're looking for. A lot of these guys aren't going to be playing at their, full-blown speed, full-blown athleticism because they do want to stay healthy. And in regards to that, the main storylines are going to be a lot of the battles, if you will. Like who's going to win over like the starting role for the first baseman, and that's between, Greg Bird and of course the recently signed Chris Carter. And pretty much every single baby Bronx bat on that roster is going to be a headliner because they're younger. We don't know who's going to get the AAA start, who's going to get the major league start. That's going to be something to watch out for. Of course, Dave Price was recently injured, and it could have gone way, way worse, Baxter. We were looking at a situation where it could have involved some sort of surgery, some sort of absolute travesty for fantasy owners, for fans, and he actually had to go to the combine in Indianapolis to talk to Dr. James Andrews, and it's looking like that is looking okay. He might be out for a little over a week, which is way better news than what we're kind of anticipating. But it does kind of mess with him with his fantasy value, but not necessarily in a bad way, of course. I think him and, of course, Chris Sale, who was acquired by the Red Sox from the White Sox, are going to be the two headlining pitchers for that team. And, they're already struggling a lot with the loss of a great bat in David Ortiz, who wasn't just a great, clubhouse guy. The guy also had one of the most phenomenal 2016 campaigns ever out of anyone. Yeah. So people forget, he was a great clubhouse guy and all-star slugger and what have you, but he really not only put the DH as a position on the map. For even people that hate the DH, they love Big Papi, right? So he left a phenomenal 2016 campaign, one of his best seasons he's ever had. So the loss of him just is phenomenal, and it's a million times confirmed that he's not coming back, which really bums people out. But he does have a memoir coming out, so people can look forward to that in May, which is going to be phenomenal. It's him. He's a big guy, larger than life, one of the nicest gentlemen in the world. So the Red Sox are definitely one of the top teams. And you did mention the Cubs. Now, of course, that's the easy play to call. Do we know if they're going to have that World Series hangover where they kind of blow it? I highly doubt it. Kyle Schwarber's back and he's healthy. He's better than ever.
Yeah.
Made an error today, but he's not really an outfielder. I think he needs to be an American League player, but for a fact the Cubs are not going to give up on him. So that's definitely one of the main storylines. We're going to see how the pitching upholds, and they don't really have that many things to worry about. Chris Bryant is, of course, coming off of an MVP season. Addison Russell's one of my favorite shortstops to watch, and the outfield's just going to be great. The bats are there, led by Joe Madden. So those are some of the top storylines. But I know you want to talk about Tim Tebow, don't you?
Yes. We've heard Tim Tebow is playing in games for the Mets on Wednesday and Friday. Do you think he'll be on the first-team roster for opening day?
He will not. Absolutely not. But if he does, then he definitely made some sort of, deal with Jesus himself. But I definitely see that. The talks around it, some of the Mets beat writers definitely see him playing in high A. If he does get promoted, it's definitely going to be a publicity thing. I can definitely see him on a AAA roster, but I can't see him playing for a AAA team, if that makes any sense. He'll be sitting on the bench. He'll be signing autographs. He'll be selling tickets. But the thing that worries me is, he is hitting the ball really well. During batting practice, he hit 9 or 11 bombs. But he's
that's batting practice, though.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not only batting practice, but he's putting all of his effort out there. A lot of these guys aren't going to be trying to do too much. They don't want to get injured,
right.
And so Tim Tebow, he is a natural athlete. I will not deny that. And I love the guy to death. And I really think that he can do okay. But I don't see him as an honest to goodness baseball professional athlete. I just don't see it happening. But he asked for a chance. He got it. He is just one of the most genuine people. If he does come to my neck of the woods, you better believe I'll be one of the first people in line to talk to him. I really do. So I give him I wish him the best. And one of his Mets teammates during spring training is saying the hype is there, but he's just kind of practicing. He's not trying to showboat anything, and which is respectful. I really appreciate that. And the vibe with him is former, current, and past athletes are saying they really appreciate his attitude, if you will. And he's not, like I mentioned, showboating. He just really wants a chance, and he was given it. And a lot of guys are respecting him. But when the news first came out during the AFL, when he was going to Arizona for AFL, people were pissed, to be honest. A lot of the guys were like, well, I wasn't given a chance. And now this guy just randomly has his agent talk to someone and he's playing in the AFL. And I'm like, well, yeah, but he does have somewhat kind of a talent to back it up. But the Mets definitely know what they're doing, and they're going to sell some tickets with him.
I was going to say, and that's the hard thing with Tebow as a whole. How can you basically as a team be smart, and be like, okay, how can we put butts in seats? Obviously, especially in spring training and, even the lower affiliates as well, too. Well, you get a high publicity guy. You get either somebody that's played the majors for a long time that says, okay, I'm going to come down and play for you guys and help you sell tickets, or I'm going to be a struggling Tim Tebow in my career and say, well, guys, why don't you let me come play for your team? And as an organization, you're going to be like, well, yeah, of course, I want to put thousands more fans in the seats just to come see a guy that maybe will do an okay thing, and maybe he'll hit a home run every couple of games to wow the fans and keep them coming back. But this isn't a guy that's going to go help the Mets, win the World Series in 4 games next year. That's just not realistic.
Yeah, he's not exactly like the secret weapon to like, whoa, we have Tim Tebow waiting for us. When they go to postseason play, it's not going to happen. Jose Canseco did the same thing. He tried to reinvent his career. I remember watching Jose Canseco and the lowest of low leagues you could possibly imagine, and he brought some people out there, so there's something behind it. But I think the Tebow mania is a little bit overrated.
Everybody loves Tebow mania.
About him. Everybody loves Tebow mania. It's a little overrated, and I'm kind of sick of talking about him. But at the same time, I want people to know he is genuinely a good person. Yes. He asked for a chance and he got it. He's not going to play for the New York Mets. It's not going to happen. If he does, that I will eat my words, but that should not happen.
Agreed.
Going back to David Price, now that he doesn't need surgery, do you think that the injury is going to affect him come the regular season?
Well, that's actually a really great question. So one of his former teammates actually wrote an article saying that this injury was a long time coming, which is pretty simple to explain. I mean, pitchers get injured all the time. That's why Tommy John is the MVP, the Cy Young Award winner in my eyes, year after year. So when it comes to David Price, the only thing that I worry about beyond his fantasy, value is his mentality. And, when it comes to me, I know a lot of people are like, well, who cares about chemistry? I'm like a huge girl when it comes to chemistry, the vibe, how a guy's feeling.
It makes a big difference. It really does.
It does. I worry this may hold him back a little bit, but the blessing of spring training is they're allowed to exaggerate these things. You can
100%.
If you have any sort of ache in your arm, you go tell the trainer. You can tell them. It's totally fine. I don't think it's that bad of an injury where it was, obviously it was something enough when he had to go talk to world-renowned James Andrews himself, Dr. James Andrews.
Never hurts.
So I don't think it's going to be anything, right, exactly. And I don't think it's anything that he needs to worry about or fantasy owners need to necessarily worry about. But I think the only thing that's really going to affect him is his fantasy value and a little bit of his mentality. But, the guy is dealt with enough. I mean, he was barely on the Blue Jays for like a blink of an eye.
True.
They needed him for the postseason. It didn't really help. And he just has so much pressure on him. But he had a 3.99 ERA last season. And so he wasn't really living up to his characteristics, which really sucks because it's David Price. The guy has a huge name. He signed a huge contract.
Yeah.
And the Red Sox just, they gained Chris Sale, and they're trying, like I mentioned, to come back and be a postseason winning team once again and bring home those World Series once again. And I think this is a season they can do it. So they're putting a lot of pressure on him. So with that regard, I'm a little worried about him. But beyond that, I'm really hoping he does have a bounce-back season, and that's what he ultimately should do.
Talking with Jessica Kleinschidt here on Happy Hour on Brew Sports. Jessica, before we let you go, one of the things that we talked about a lot last week on the program in surprise fashion is the World Baseball Classic and how undermarketed, underappreciated that it is. In any other sport, I feel like Israel upsetting Korea would be ridiculously insane headlines. But are you following the World Baseball Classic at all? Or are you one of those folks that just, quote unquote, just doesn't have time or just doesn't care as much about it, even though you do cover baseball, for a living, basically?
That's a great question, Baxter. So when it came to up until this season, I honestly didn't care about it. And the reason why was during this amount of time, I'm so, into spring training and there's so much going on. But I I did meet a player from the Australian team, and it's Todd Van Cecil, and he's amazing human being, and I actually have to tell his story about him going to the WBC. You have to remember, a lot of these guys may not get bumped up to the majors. They may not win World Series, but their equivalent to that is saying they got to play in the WBC and represent their own country. And how many people get to say that, right? I barely represent my small little hometown in Nevada when I write an article. Like, these guys are like, yeah, well, I'm representing Australia. It's like, okay, well, what kind of pressure is that?
Exactly.
So after hearing his story, it was interesting because different countries have different dynamics of baseball.
Yes.
Baseball in America is supposed to be America's favorite pastime. People are looking at it like it's a boring sport now. But in Australia, that specific dynamic, it's such a team sport, and when I talked to Todd, he was talking about playing in both Australia and in the States. And in the States, these guys don't really care about championships. All they care about is their own box score. In Australia, it's opposite. They don't really care about their box score. They want their team to win. And when Todd was back in the States, he was like really bummed that the team was losing. But one of his teammates would be like, but you guys, I went 4 for 4. And people are like, really? We just lost the championship, but you went 4 for 4. Like, who freaking cares?
Yeah.
Like, really? So it's interesting to look at the different dynamics of each country. And you mentioned Israel taking over Korea, and it's just little things like that are phenomenal. And not to mention, we grew up watching these players. They get to, some of them, the bilinguals get to choose what country they want to represent. And that's amazing, right? Like, so it's stuff like that really like tugs at my heartstrings. And Baxter, of all people, I'm super Nicholas Sparks romantic about baseball. It's so lame about it. And being able to watch these kids play with people that they looked up to and call them teammates is just phenomenal. So I've definitely been following it a little bit closer this year.
Exactly. And I think that's really what baseball and sports is all about as well, too, is to be able to, and that was always the dream for me as a kid as well, too, for soccer. I was like, I want to represent the United States one day as an adult, in soccer, basically. Like, and you've heard from athletes in any sport, it's like when you put that national team jersey on, you put that hat on, whatever, and you hear your nation's anthem played before a game, it does something to you. And I think that these players get that opportunity now to do that. And it certainly is going to be, I'm going to be keeping an eye on the World Baseball Classic, like kind of like you said as well too, up until this year, didn't really care as much about it, but because there is all these other underlying stories going on, I think it deserves more coverage and more press as a whole. So I'm kind of excited to see where it comes from that, honestly. So, well, Jessica, we appreciate you taking time to join us on Happy Hour today. Where can people find your writing and find you on social media as well?
You can follow me on Twitter. That's where I'm very active, and it's at Kleinschidt JD. I just released my fantasy baseball book today, and I posted that on my Twitter as well. It's available on Amazon.
Woo!
So
Congratulations!
Check that out. Yeah, thank you so much. And Facebook too, Jessica Kleinschidt. I'm everywhere. I'm everywhere.
Awesome.
That's a good little thing to say, I guess. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Jessica. We appreciate your time, and we hope to have you back on Bruce Sports again soon. All right.
All right. Thanks, guys. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Sounds good. There goes Jessica Kleinschidt, one of our baseball correspondents here on Bruce Sports. Always good to hear the passion and the different dynamics that so many people bring to the sports world, I feel like. And it's interesting. You hear somebody like Jessica, you hear the passion about the sport, and it's even more interesting when you peel the layers back all the way down, be like, the Major League Baseball has done such a hard thing of trying to recruit females to be so interested in the league as well too, and Jessica lives, breathes, and dies Major League Baseball and baseball as a whole too. To see somebody with her talents, with her level of experience going into the baseball world, I think is just remarkable, honestly. So overall, though, some really great stuff from her. I appreciate her work and her time as well too, joining us on the program today. I'm a little bummed about Tim Tebow. The way you asked the question, too, you're just like, is there any possible? Yeah. It's kind of like when you're asking if the cute boy is going to be at the dance, you're like, are you going to be there? Like, I'm going to be there. Like, that'd be great.
You're so right.
It was just so funny. Like, just the way you said it, I was like, yeah. Like, that's what a lot of people are like, please, pretty please, Mets. It's not going to happen, unfortunately. No. But PR is a beautiful thing. If he was, I could see them doing it. Maybe if their season's not going very well, and they're like, we need to put more people in the stands. Guys, Tim Tebow's going to be in for the weekend. Holy cow! Especially if it was like a Yankees-Mets sort of thing where you got that crosstown rivalry. Full stadium, guaranteed, 100%. Just to see Tim Tebow for a weekend. What's he going to do? ESPN, everybody would be there. It's just funny how the sports world works.
Oh,
just for a guy like Tim Tebow. Oh, boy. Well, sometimes, unfortunately, Teaka, the sports world does not exactly work in your favor, or sometimes it mandates certain things that you need to do. We heard last week that Colin Kaepernick was saying, hey, I'm going to stand for the national anthem now. I'm done with my protest. I've served my time. I didn't really serve his time, but he's like, I've established what I want to do. And people were like, well, that's great. And then other people were like, he wants a job. Yeah. Like, we get it, Colin. You're a free agent. You want a job. Yeah. Totally understand that. So for those that didn't know, there was a lot of other people that were also kneeling and sitting during the national anthem to join Colin to raise awareness for everything that he was trying to stand for. Well, last week, or actually rather earlier this week, U.S. Soccer came out and added a new policy, policy 604-1 to be specific, and it states, all persons representing a federation national team shall stand respectfully during the playing of national anthems at any event in which the federation is represented. Kind of a jab at Megan Rapinoe, who knelt during the national anthem in solidarity, of course, with Colin Kaepernick last year for a couple of the friendlies and other matches that Megan Rapinoe was a part of. What do you make of something like this? Is this just U.S. Soccer kind of just covering their butt saying, look, we represent the United States of America. Right. You can't not stand. You don't have to put your hand over your heart, but you can't not stand.
Right.
It's a big slap in the face. And it makes the nation as a whole look bad.
Oh, I completely agree. For me personally, it isn't a question to me whether you're, a fan or an athlete.
Yes.
It's what you do out of respect. You stand for the national anthem proudly, in my opinion.
100%.
I don't think there should be any question to that. Everyone can do what they want and stand for what they want to stand for. But when it comes to the national anthem, especially wearing the national team jersey in that situation,
well, we just talked about it, too. The amount of pride that you get and the players you hear, too. I can't even imagine, smaller countries trying to do something like this, the repercussions that would come for these guys.
Right.
Like, can you imagine if, Ivory Coast, or can you imagine if Cyprus or these other smaller countries where these guys getting this opportunity to play for the national team is their world, like this is their ticket out, basically, and them to just kneel out of disrespect. There's no chance those players would ever be given an opportunity again. Be like, you clearly don't respect the exciting freedom we are giving you and everything this country has fought for since its, inception, basically.
Right.
So do you agree with U.S. Soccer doing this then? Do you agree with, Colin Kaepernick's a whole other topic, but do you agree that U.S. Soccer got it right by doing this, or are they almost trying to force this?
Well, that's a good question because I think it's great. I think that this, like I said, I don't think it should be a question whether or not you stand for the national anthem,
yes.
But again, I think it's ridiculous that they had to get to this point. I think that they shouldn't have to do this. It should, they shouldn't have had this issue to begin with. Obviously Colin started it. He started the movement, obviously. And that certainly kind of spiraled from there. And when Megan Rapinoe first kneeled last year, U.S. Soccer had an issue to respond to her protest, saying, we have an expectation that our players and coaches will stand and honor our flag while the national anthem is played. Makes sense. Right.
Why cause more issues? And it would be different, too, because Megan Rapinoe at that time was going through a transition in her career where she just was not playing as well as she used to be. And, her life continues to just kind of take different turns as a whole, too. But if you are given the opportunity to represent your country, I feel like if there is ever a time in your life to be respectful of the opportunities you're being given, that is the time. Yeah. It's one thing.
There's a time and place for everything and to stand up for what you believe in and whatnot, but I don't think that's the right
exactly. It's hard to make the comparison. You can try to make the comparison like even with what we're doing here. So we've got once a week programming that runs. So, say one of the hosts on the once a week program is doing things, whatever, but then they come on one of the daily shows that is a wide representation of what the network of Brew Sports is as a whole. Mm-hmm. If somebody decides to, protest, whatever their protest would be, basically, it's like you are not only representing the single show that you are now representing this network as a whole too. So if I were just to start spewing racial things at everybody, basically, or whatever my thing would be to get me in trouble, I'm not only making myself look bad, but I'm making the network as a whole look bad because I am painting a misinterpretation or overall view of what Brew Sports and the network is, and that's what the national team is doing as well too. They're like, this is not what we are. This isn't what we do. We've never done this. And you've got one player doing that, And I think that just completely skews and derails a little bit, honestly, of what they're trying to do as a whole.
Right. I think U.S. Soccer passing the policy is great and awesome, and I completely support it, but I don't think it should have had to have been. I mean, I don't think it should have had to have been done in the first place.
Agreed. I completely agree. I mean, we'd like to hear what you guys' thoughts are as well, too, on Facebook. Anything we've talked about so far in the show, please make sure you comment below. Share this as well, too, as we are live. We love getting more viewers and listeners as well, too. But, yeah, do you support U.S. Soccer doing this? Do you support Colin Kaepernick as well, saying, yeah, I'm going to stand for the national anthem now, totally, past what I needed to pass, basically? It raises a lot of questions. It raises a lot of different viewpoints going forward now. If this happens again, so say, another player decides to kneel for the U.S. national team. Maybe not even the same player. Another player's just like, you know what, to heck with this. I don't believe in this, and they take a kneel. Do you just never let that player back on the team if you're the national team? If it could be your best or your worst player, but do you mandate a policy then basically saying like, well, you chose to obey a new mandated policy. See ya, thanks for nothing.
I think so.
Even if it's your best player.
You got to follow the rules.
You do. I agree. And that's the thing. But how many times have we seen people, be like, well, but it's, we don't want to get rid of you.
Because it's a really good player. I know that would be a
because then
exactly
that affects the national team as a whole. I mean, even if it's on a team by team basis. So if Tom Brady for the Patriots decided to say, you know what, guys, I'm going to start kneeling. If the NFL mandated it, everybody's got to stand. If Tom Brady was like, you know what, never mind, then the Patriots would be like, well, sorry, Tom, you're suspended, or sorry, you're kicked off the team. Like, that puts you in a bad situation, but then it's like, well, then that hurts the league, that hurts the growth. There's so many.
But I think when you come up with a rule or policy, you have to stick with it, too.
I agree.
You have to, otherwise
it's not going to be pretty.
Go, and then other people think they can get away with things. I think that's where you really have to draw the line and say, if you do this, you're out. If you disobey, these are the rules.
Exactly. And I mean, how many times do you hear that even as a kid with your parents? These are the rules, follow them. And then when you don't follow them, exactly. It's like, but Mom, I didn't do it. It's like, no, you disobeyed. I told you not to eat a candy bar before dinner. I told you not to do whatever. Right. And you got blasted for it, basically. Jimmy on Facebook says he is always on his best behavior. So that's good, Jimmy. I appreciate you trying to be at the very best behavior that you can with all things that you do in life. I try to be in my best behavior as well, too. I mean, it's not to say don't have fun, but there's a time and a place for everything, obviously.
Yeah.
Which makes total sense to me. Speaking of a time and a place, did you hear about what happened at the NFL Combine? Not the 40-yard dash, none of that fun stuff. Did you hear what happened with Alabama linebacker Reuben Foster? Did you hear what he did?
Yeah.
Kind of crazy. He apparently got into a bit of a scuffle, a heated argument, is what they're saying, with a hospital worker. Apparently Foster felt mistreated, but there wasn't a physical confrontation at all, but he got sent home from the NFL Combine. This is a guy that is being projected to be one of the very best at his position going into the NFL draft.
Yeah, I would like more details on this story. I feel like it's very vague, and obviously
it kind of is,
it kind of lays down what happened, but I'm just curious, like what actually happened?
And that's the thing, too. I mean, looking at this article, at least here on Bleacher Report, it says the whole situation has been blown out of proportion. He didn't elaborate on exactly what happened between Foster and the hospital worker. Foster wasn't going to participate in drills at the Combine after having surgery on his rotator cuff last month. Totally makes sense. Still regarded as a top prospect, but apparently there was some sort of altercation. I mean, and then you start to play devil's advocate. You start to think it's like, well, do you play the race card? Was Foster, racially, commented on basically based off of what's going on with him? I mean, he is an African-American player. I mean, you'd like to think not, but also he's a college kid. He still has got a short fuse to an extent. College kids think that sometimes they're on top of the world, especially when they know they're going to be getting paid millions and millions of dollars here in a couple of months. Or was it just a misunderstanding or what? I mean, the speculation, I feel like obviously, what happens, of course, when you assume, but
right.
I mean, what do you make of something like this happening? I feel like, especially with somebody that's so highly rated. Right.
I mean, it's a difficult situation, especially because, there's so many questions and so many things we don't know.
It just paints a bad picture, I feel like, overall, when you look at what the NFL continues to try to do and what the combine does as a whole too. I mean, these guys, I mean, he's not even participating. And I'd understand if it was a player that was just heckling the coaches doing the drills like, screw you, F you, I don't want to do this, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, yeah, send him home. But this guy wasn't even participating, and he was just basically, sounds like he was just getting his arm checked out or whatever. So, like, how much can go wrong just by getting your arm checked out? I don't know.
Yeah, and it says here, someone said it was blown out of proportion, and it could very well be, but
it makes sense, honestly. I mean, how does something like this not be blown out of proportion, honestly?
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems kind of silly to me, honestly, especially with, as good of a player as he is. You'd like to not hope that it's something racial, but if you're not physically, touching or anything like that going on, like, what else, unfortunately, can there be? There's not many other avenues. It's not like he lost a bet and
you can only really think one thing.
Unfortunately. Which is a sad state, honestly, but hopefully there's not. And hopefully this thing just gets, taken care of soon. And Foster did send an apology letter as well, too, after his dismissal, which I think, of course, is very important and very needed. But
yeah, I think that makes the situation a bit better. I think that's very respectful on his part.
Yes, I agree. All right, you've got a really good feel-good story. We've kind of been all over the map today with controversy and people getting sent home and all this crazy stuff, but you've got a really fun, cute, adorable,
I do,
drink a bottle of wine and have some popcorn kind of story.
I do. Okay, well, do you have a dog? Do you like dogs?
I don't. I do like dogs. I do not have one, though.
Do you think you'll get one?
I think down the road, my wife and I want to get some sort of. I always wanted a husky, personally.
Okay.
My wife wants more of a golden retriever sort of thing, or a lab, a golden lab. She wants.
My brother and sister-in-law have a Bernese Mountain Dog. I think they're called.
Really
big.
Oh, sure.
Thinks she's a lap dog, so
of course
always turns around,
like
sits
a bear,
yep.
basically. You're like, oh, get off of me, basically.
Yeah, I love dogs, but I don't know if I'll ever get one.
No,
I don't know.
I could see you being like a little dog kind of gal.
Oh,
like,
my mom has a little dog.
Okay,
so she has a Maltese.
Did you ever get like a little Chihuahua or something? Be like, come on, get in my purse. Let's go shopping.
I don't think so, but no, I like dogs, but I feel like I would get too attached, and then it'd be sad when the dog gets old.
True.
So I feel like that's also why I don't think I'll get one. But have you ever heard of adventure racing?
Adventure racing?
Sport, yeah.
It's a sport? No, I haven't. What is this?
Well, this article I came across has both adventure racing and dogs in it, so I thought it was very interesting.
So you're just in heaven right now.
Apparently, this sport is all about survival. It's a race covering hundreds of miles off course, and that deals with extreme conditions. So the team has to climb, cycle, and kayak throughout the journey across Earth. So the races can last up to 10 days, traveling through different climate zones, and they have to save their food and water, obviously, and they sleep at most an hour a night.
Dang.
I think it had said. And they all have to cross the finish line together, so that's one of the rules.
Of course.
So the team peak performance for Sweden, they were heading into the Adventure Racing World Champions as one of the best teams. So their goal is to, finish first.
Mm-hmm.
So the course, and this was in 2014, but this story has changed over time.
Sure,
so
yeah.
It's from a while ago, but so it included 435 miles, 15,000 feet in elevation, and 12 different climate zones.
Wow. Okay.
Which is insane to me.
And this is a sport. This is adventure racing.
Yep. And so the team member even said that they had been in races where people had died before. So it's very intense.
Whoa.
Yeah. So it's crazy.
That's a bit. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I would want to.
Now that I hear this, I'm just kind of like, maybe I'll pass on this sport. I was like, I can do the whole outdoors thing. I enjoy, climbing, hunting, fishing, et cetera, et cetera. But
yeah,
I don't like doing things that have a chance of death.
Yeah, me either. So very
kind of
brave
outside of my
people
wheelhouse, honestly.
Yeah, very brave people that compete, I guess. But their goal was to be ranked number 1 and win the world championship, as I had said.
Okay.
So on day 4, the team they're ready to change from biking to trekking. And things changed a little bit because they crossed paths with a stray dog. And so the dog was in very poor condition and had a large wound on his back.
Oh, poor dog.
Yeah, so they tried to, hang out with it a little bit.
Of course.
They fed the dog. They actually gave him a Swedish meatball which I thought was
just happen to bring a Swedish meatball. If you had to list your top 5 things you bring to survive in the wilderness, I don't think a Swedish meatball is going to be in my backpack.
Right. I was really surprised because I had read, obviously, that they have to, ration the food and water and stuff.
I mean, what do you bring when you go camping?
Not a Swedish meatball. I mean, if I'm going camping, s'mores, obviously.
Of course. But, even if you knew you were going to be out in the wilderness, I don't think a Swedish meatball is at the top of my list.
No.
I don't even remember the last time I had a Swedish meatball on purpose.
Yeah.
It's usually at a fancy gala or something.
Right.
Like, here I am. Oh, I have a Swedish meatball.
Fancy for a, I don't know.
To have it in the outdoors. I mean, hey, everybody does outdoors differently. I mean, glamming or glamping people do, glamour camping or whatever, where they stay in cabins and whatever. It's not actually camping, basically, but that's kind of strange, though, a Swedish meatball. Anyway, continue.
I know, I was very surprised. So the team continued on their course. Obviously, they had to. They wanted to finish number 1, and the dog kept following them. So
after they fed the dog?
Yes. So after a while, they named the dog Arthur.
Oh, Arthur.
Because they wanted to give him a king-like name.
Of course.
Because he's wounded, and he's still, trucking along with them. So toward the end of the race, they thought Arthur's journey would come to an end because they got ready to begin a 34-mile and 14-hour kayaking trip. So they were like, well, obviously we can't take the dog.
I was going to say, I'm looking at this course as you're talking here.
Yeah.
Holy cow!
Yeah. So and they were kayaking toward the finish line. They were 34 miles and 14 hours away, pretty much.
Jeez.
So as they pushed away, they started to leave, and they heard a splash. And so they saw that the dog came swimming alongside of them. So this dog was not going to give up. So that's when they realized there was something more important to winning. And that was taking care of this dog on the way. So on day 6, Arthur crossed the finish line with a team which finished 12th out of 54 teams in the race. So although they initially wanted to be first and they were one of the best teams, they decided to, take the dog. So Arthur took a 6,455-mile journey to join a team and find a family. And he joined the race and outpaced death to find a new life. So eventually they... I think the captain of the team Peak Performance, or one of the team members, eventually wanted to keep him. And so I think it said something about them having trouble bringing him from Ecuador to Sweden.
Wow.
So, I guess the government got involved and everything.
I was going to say, it sounds like something got a little fishy there or something. But because I'm reading this article as you're talking about it as well, too, and seeing the different timelines and just... Even looking at the trail as a whole, it just blows my mind, honestly. I mean...
I can't believe I hadn't heard of this sport.
I haven't either. I mean, look at the increments of some of these things. 299 miles worth of mountain biking, and just on one little bit. Then you paddle for 341 miles. Then you mountain bike 366 miles again. It's just... On
1 hour of sleep each night? I need my 8 hours.
I agree. I don't get that because I have a newborn at my house. Well, actually, he sleeps through the night, so that works out. But
you're lucky.
How? I just don't understand, honestly. I mean, what possesses somebody? I've done some crazy stuff in my life. Nothing insane, but at what point, even just thinking of going on an 18-mile climb, I'd be like, guys, I got things to do.
Yeah.
You have fun.
Maybe 3 miles at most.
Or a 59-mile mountain bike ride. I'd be like,
my legs, I feel would fall.
Exactly.
I don't think I think they would physically just stop. I don't think
200 miles worth of trekking. I mean, you finish off with 435 miles of paddling. I just don't understand.
It seems crazy.
I have super
me.
Kudos to these people. Good for you. You're built to stronger stuff than I am, apparently. But I mean, you don't ever obviously know what your body's fully made of.
Right.
I don't know.
Until it's pushed. Yeah. But I guess the vet had said too here. It says he had large wounds on his back, like he had been beaten or something. If Arthur had been left in Ecuador, he probably would be dead by now.
Poor Arthur. But thankfully he didn't.
Yeah, and with
Hashtag
the wounds,
save Arthur.
He kept with the team and he jumped in the water because he didn't. That's so sweet.
It is. See, Teaka's I love it. And I totally agree. It's a good feel-good story, honestly. Jimmy on Facebook says that he wants a pet wolf.
Oh, wow.
So if you're into that sort of thing, I don't know what the rules are for adoption when it comes to adopting a wolf, but good for you, Jimmy. Good luck with that. Send us a video if you do.
Interesting choice.
Jamie says, I feel like the meatballs wouldn't travel well. I would agree with that. I mean...
It's weird.
But now that I know they're from Sweden...
Yeah, it makes a little
I feel
bit
like
more sense.
the American version of a Swedish meatball now is totally different than what the Swedes do. Because pizza in Italy is totally different than what pizza in the States is. Because the Italians didn't create pizza. Fun fact. The Americans did.
I suppose. But I still feel like that's a silly thing to bring on a...
Exactly. Trail mix, granola bars.
Yeah,
things that won't go bad.
Yeah.
How quickly into the trip do you have to eat the Swedish meatballs? Do you heat them up? Do you not? Do you leave them cold? Do you thaw them out?
I don't know.
Swedish meatballs are not complicated, but at the same time, What do you do with that? I don't know. I don't understand the whole Swedish meatball thing.
But apparently it was good, and the dog liked it. Arthur liked it.
Good old Arthur. Would you name a dog? Would you name a kid Arthur?
I don't think so. I haven't really thought about kids' names.
I mean, you got time,
before.
obviously.
Yeah, but
everybody's got like that
sure.
one, like regardless. Sometimes, depending on the age, everybody got that one name that's like, well, if I have a kid, if I have a girl, I'm naming her this, or if I have a boy, I'm going to try to name him this kind of thing. But totally up to you.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, I don't know.
You got plenty of time. Not trying to rush you into anything.
I'm not really thinking about it right now. No rush.
No, totally not. Totally not. I mean, you at least have somebody special, unlike somebody on our morning show, Jamie, who is still apparently looking for somebody. She was being courted. I don't know if you heard about this or not. She was being courted by 3 or 4 different people on the morning show this morning, and then her father decided to jump on as well, too. It was like our own version of The Bachelorette, basically. We had hometowns and we had one-on-ones all at the same time. It was rather interesting. Nobody got a rose, so I don't know where we go from here. I mean, it was a to-be-continued kind of an episode.
We'll pick up tomorrow morning.
Yes, exactly. Come back tomorrow on The Morning Brew. Will Jamie find love? Exactly. It's interesting, though, that we talk about The Bachelorette and The Bachelor because The Bachelor's on tonight.
It is.
Fun
I
fact.
will definitely be watching.
So I want to talk about this, actually. And you might think, well, this has nothing to do with sports. There is a fantasy league for The Bachelor. If you didn't know, you can make your selections of what girls you think you're going to. Did you not know there was a Bachelor fantasy league?
I mean, I knew people guessed and wrote down their
there's a legit, I think, because so many people were doing that, like ESPN and ABC. I mean, I know they're owned by the same thing with Disney, but people started playing these fantasy leagues. So there's legit Bachelor fantasy leagues. Like you can win money, you can do all this crazy stuff. Like people put more time into their Bachelor picks than they do March Madness. I feel.
But you can also look up who wins, can't you? I feel like people do all the time. So wouldn't you be able to cheat? Do you think people cheat?
Maybe.
I mean, I feel like how do you make sure that people don't just look up the answer and make their bracket, I guess? I
don't know. I mean, do you know who wins this season? Have you looked?
I have. No,
you have.
But I have.
You have a good idea, though?
Yeah, a good idea.
Well, there's 3 people left, and I feel like we need to hash this out because Corinne went home last week.
Thankfully.
God. She was kept way longer than she needed to.
Yeah, I was worried she would make it to the final 3. But
thankfully she didn't.
But then we know Rachel is going to be the next Bachelorette.
Which I don't understand. Did you agree with the fact that they announced it 3 weeks?
No, I was super upset. I was super upset about it, but I guess they needed to start filming for the Bachelorette because it's a quick turnaround. Yeah. So they had to announce it.
That's so strange, though.
But you'd think that's why I thought she was going to be the next one going home because I'm they can't keep her on longer because we know that
exactly. As soon as she survived the rose ceremony and they sent home Christina or whoever they sent home instead of Rachel, I was like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Why are we? Because now we know she's going to go. She's going to do the fantasy suite this week.
We know who the final 2 are.
Yeah, it's going to. Well, we think because there's 3 left right now. She could She could still get jilted.
Oh, that's true. But then we know who wins unless no one wins. But if it's Rachel and someone else in the final 2, I feel like that can't be because then they would be giving it away.
Exactly. So
unless no one wins.
So then realistically do you think it's going to be Vanessa and Rachel or is it going to be Raven?
I think it's going to be Vanessa and Raven in the end. I just don't think, I can't, I'd be so shocked.
This would be the week, I feel like, because her hometown didn't go well.
Right.
Which is what I think a lot of people, were mad about.
Right.
So, but Vanessa's hometown didn't go well either.
No, it didn't.
But Vanessa is such a sweet girl, though.
I know, I love Vanessa.
So,
and Raven, I think.
So who's your pick then?
Well, I think that Raven and Nick have had really, really good dates so far. But I feel like that, so I want to say Raven's gonna win. Yeah. But I feel like that gives it away. You can't just.
Do you think she was being too awkward during her fantasy suite week, being like, I've never done this, or man's never done that?
I thought that was a little out there.
What are you doing? My wife and I were watching that, and she was like, why would you say that on camera?
Yeah, she said it. I was like, oh my gosh.
That's something you say off camera.
Yeah.
You don't say that on, but I guess it adds to the drama. Being
right. I'm sure they told the girls to put it all out there.
Of course.
So that it keeps the show.
And Raven kind of seems like that girl. Well, I suppose I'll say what I need to say. Kind of thing. I mean, that's how she talks, though. She's like, Nick makes me feel special. We know, Raven. We know. Jamie says that's doubtful that she's going to find love. I think there should be a campaign for Jamie, our morning brew host, to be on the next Bachelorette.
Let's do it.
Because I was like, well, wouldn't you want to be on The Bachelor? She's like, no, there's too many girls trying to kiss one guy. And I'm like, well, you being the Bachelorette. I'm like, well, there's too many guys trying to kiss one girl. She's like, well, I like that. I'm like, well, there's names for that though, Jamie. She's like, that's wrong. She's like, but that's the theme of the show, so it's okay. I'm like, is it though? Is it? We make it okay, but in what situation is one girl making out or dating 20 plus guys?
Right.
Acceptable, publicly okay. It's not.
It's not.
But it's TV, so it's fine.
It's weird.
What?
I wouldn't want to be one of those girls.
No, you wouldn't do that?
I just think that's why would you want to be dating a guy that you know like
Yeah. Would you rather be the flip then? Would you rather be the Bachelorette and have 20-some guys courting you?
I think that's weird too.
It is. It's a lot of responsibility.
I feel like they switch from like person to person so quickly.
They
like,
do.
Okay, now I'm with this person.
It's like speed dating.
It's
Almost.
just weird. Yeah,
And that's always the big thing that you hear the parents say, and they're like, I think I love this person. Be like, you've been with him for 5 weeks. Like, what? How could you possibly?
Yeah.
You would. They don't even spend. It's not like you spend every waking moment with them either. So.
Yeah. It's very sketchy. I think.
It is very.
It was
sketchy.
right for Vanessa's dad to. What did he asked straight up asked Nick, right? Wasn't it Vanessa's dad?
I believe so. Yeah.
That said, well, did you ask all the other dads?
I know. At that moment, I was
fathers?
like, oh, good point.
Yeah, but like going into the show, that's what's going to happen. Like I think.
I know. I feel like people have.
I knew that was going to be the case.
That's the one thing that bothers me the most about these shows is, and I know that they have to play it up, of course, but like, oh, I didn't think I'd get my heart broken, or I hate that I don't get enough time with this person. I'm like, what did you think you were signing up for? It's
you knew this
integrated into the Bachelor/Bachelorette DNA. You are not going to get every waking moment with that person. So stop crying.
Yeah.
Man up.
Woman
you're
up
into this. And get after it. Make the most of the time you have. Tell them you love them. Don't play the what if game, whatever, or get out.
I feel like the only reason I would go on it is don't they get like free drinks?
Yes.
They just get to sit by a
They
pool
just
and
drink
all day?
and eat all day.
And eat, Corinne was eating all the time.
All the
on
time.
The show.
So who's your? Did you give us a final pick then? You think it's going to be Nick and Raven? Nick and Vanessa.
I want to say Raven because everything's been going so well, but I feel like it's been going too well, so then I want to pick Vanessa.
Bum bum bum.
Like,
Vanessa's
I feel like they
my
can't
pick.
I feel like I agree with you on that because I feel like it's too. I don't know. Things seem too good with Nick and Raven. Unless something happens tonight, I guess we'll find out.
We'll find out. The fantasy suite. How will it end? Nobody knows. All right. Well, as we wrap things up, we want to say a special thanks to our baseball correspondent, Jessica Kleinschidt, for joining us in our second segment to talk Tebow Mania, David Price's weird elbow thingy, and spring training and the World Baseball Classic as a whole. Some more comments here on Facebook before we run. Jeff says, Baxter knows way too much about The Bachelorette. That is correct. I blame my wife. Ask me anything. I never liked Andy. Caitlin was. I liked Caitlin though. David says, "I thought we were going to talk about sumo wrestling. I mean, we certainly could. I mean, I don't know a thing about sumo wrestling. Maybe the Bachelorette. Maybe that's how hometown. There should be a sumo wrestling match to determine who gets the final rose. I like that idea.
There's an idea.
I don't know if they do it, but I think they did. Didn't they do some sort of like mud wrestling or something? I feel like for one of the Bachelorettes.
On a certain date, yeah.
And the guys all were like going after.
I feel like
they
did a sumo wrestling one too.
I think they did. It's more so for when the guys, because the guys are like, "Look how tough I am. Yeah. I'm going to hit these people."
Because I guess they get to pick the dates.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess.
I
don't know. All right, Teaka. Final thoughts before we buzz out of here for a Monday. You do anything fun tonight? Homework, I'm assuming. Being a college kid.
Yeah, homework and Bachelor.
Woo!
Homework and Bachelor.
Are you a wine and popcorn kind of gal when you cozy up for the Bachelor?
Yes, I am, but no more wine because that's what I gave up for Lent. Unfortunately.
So what's your filler? What do you fill your time in your life with?
I'll have to drink more beer, I guess.
I guess so. And we talked about this off the air too. You were the only Daily Show host to not drink yet during a show.
Yeah, we'll see. It'll be coming this week.
You heard it here first. Teaka's gonna do it. All right, well, she's Teaka Griesbach. I am Baxter Colburn. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you comment below if you had any thoughts about anything we talked about. Give us your Bachelor picks for who you think is going to be. Is it going to be Raven? Is it going to be Vanessa? We know it's not Rachel, so you can get rid of her, obviously. And anything else we talked about as well, too. Don't forget to share the episode as well, too, here on Facebook. Tell your friends about us. And I'll be back here tomorrow on Brew Sports, bigger and better than ever, at 7 a.m. Central Time, live on The Morning Brew with myself and Jamie Evers. She's Teaka. I'm Baxter. Enjoy your Monday. It's Monday. The day's over, basically. Go enjoy your Tuesday tomorrow. Back here with us on Brew Sports. Have a great rest of your night, everybody.